The room went quiet when Claire Reynolds walked through the doors of the Millfield High reunion with her hand wrapped around another man's arm. She spotted Daniel across the crowded ballroom, tilted her head, and said loudly enough for 3 nearby tables to hear, "See that man over there in the gray suit? I used to feel sorry for him. Now I just feel relieved. But to understand how we got here, we need to go back 7 years." Daniel Marsh had married Claire at 29. She was magnetic in the way that certain people are, the kind of woman who made every room feel like an event just by entering it. He was a software engineer with a cloud storage startup running out of a converted garage in Providence, Rhode Island. 5 employees. A product that was ahead of its time. And a burn rate that kept Daniel awake most nights. For 8 years, Claire managed their social life with the confidence of someone who already believed she was living in the future she deserved. She told people at dinner parties that her husband was passionate. What she told herself in private was something else entirely. He had loved her honestly and worked hard and assumed, the way people do, that this was enough. It was not. The affair started with a man named Marcus Reeves. Claire had met him at a networking event in Boston in the autumn of their 6th year of marriage. Marcus was polished in the specific way that money and ease make a man polished: good suits, easy smile, a Porsche in the hotel parking lot. He sold himself the way some men do, loudly and without apology. By the time Daniel found the messages on a Tuesday afternoon in March, the relationship had been ongoing for nearly 2 years. He sat in their kitchen in Newport for a long time after that. Then he called a lawyer. Claire did not ask for forgiveness. She filed for divorce within a week. What happened next in a beige conference room in downtown Providence would define the following 7 years of both their lives, though only one of them understood it at the time. Claire's attorney placed a document on the table. It estimated the value of Daniel's company at $40,000. The language was precise and merciless: pre-revenue, single asset, high-risk venture. Claire asked for half of the shared marital assets, the house in Newport, and a cash settlement of $340,000. Her attorney read the terms without hesitation. Daniel sat across from the woman he had married and looked at the number for a long moment. Then he signed. He gave her the house. He gave her the settlement. He kept the company. His attorney, a methodical man named Howard, pulled him aside in the hallway afterward and asked quietly whether Daniel fully understood what he had agreed to. Daniel said yes. Howard looked at him for a long moment, then shook his head and walked to the elevator without another word. But what Claire's attorney did not know, what Claire herself did not know, was that 3 months before she had filed for divorce, Daniel had received a term sheet from a venture capital firm in San Francisco. A Series A investment of $11 million. He had said nothing about it, because at the time he received it, he was still hoping the marriage could be saved. The company, as described in those mediation documents, was accurately valued at that moment in time. The $11 million investment closed 14 days after the divorce was finalized. Daniel moved into a rented apartment in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and rebuilt everything from the foundation. He did not date. He did not attend industry events or follow what Claire was doing. He hired engineers quietly, rebuilt the product's core infrastructure, and landed a contract with a regional healthcare network in New England that put Novatech Solutions on the radar of institutional investors for the first time. By the end of year 2, the company had 46 full-time employees and $8 million in annual recurring revenue. The document that arrived in year 3, a term sheet for a Series B round at a $280 million valuation, was 34 pages long. Daniel read every page twice before signing. His personal equity stake, after the round closed, was valued at $68 million on paper. The previous spring, through a secondary sale approved by his board, he had already converted $19 million of that into cash. He purchased a house 3 miles from the one Claire had taken in the divorce. The view of the water was better. He had not thought about Claire in over a year. He was too busy running a company. The reunion invitation arrived on a Tuesday. A 10-year Millfield high-class reunion, held at the Harborview Grand Hotel in Newport. Daniel set it aside on his desk for 2 weeks. He booked a hotel room and cancelled it twice. In the end, it was his old friend Theo who settled the question. "You run a company worth nearly $300 million, Theo said over the phone. "The most powerful thing you can do is walk in, have a decent time, and leave. What exactly are you afraid of?" Daniel thought about it. He could not find a satisfying answer. So he went. He arrived early. He found a table near the back of the room, reconnected with people he had genuinely liked in high school and had not seen in a decade, and spent the first hour in conversations that had nothing to do with quarterly targets or board meetings. He had not brought business cards. He was not there to perform. He ordered sparkling water and let the evening find its own shape. And then the doors opened, and Claire Reynolds walked in. She wore a dark green dress and moved through the entrance the way she always had, aware of every eye in the room and entirely comfortable with the fact. The man beside her was tall and broad-shouldered, with the easy confidence of someone who had never seriously doubted himself. He was already holding a glass of scotch before he had found a seat. Daniel recognized the face before he placed the name. It took approximately 2 seconds. Marcus Reeves. Novatech Solutions. Regional Sales Manager, New England Division. Hired 18 months ago by a vice president who had since left the company. The performance review summary that had landed in Daniel's inbox 3 days earlier listed Marcus's annual quota attainment at 61%. Daniel set down his sparkling water very carefully. He said nothing. He watched. Claire guided Marcus toward a cluster of former classmates near the center of the ballroom. She was warm, expansive, and entirely in her element. Daniel's name came up within minutes. He could not hear the words from across the room, but he could read the shape of the conversation in every face in that group. A woman named Karen, someone Daniel had known since 11th grade, stood at the edge of the circle. He watched her expression go quiet and uncomfortable. She glanced across the room toward his table, then back at Claire, and then at the floor. She said something careful. Claire laughed and kept talking. But what Claire did not know was that Marcus had gone completely still. He had recognized Daniel's face from the Novatech internal employee portal, the photograph that appeared at the top of the company leadership page, beneath the words Chief Executive Officer. He had been staring at Claire for several seconds. He said her name, quietly, once. She was mid-sentence with someone else and did not turn. Daniel stood up from his table and walked across the room. Not toward Claire. Toward Marcus. He extended his hand. "Marcus. Good to see you somewhere other than the quarterly review deck." Marcus took the hand. His grip was the grip of a man who has just felt the ground shift beneath him. "Mr. Marsh. I didn't realize you would be here." "Neither did I, until recently," Daniel said. He smiled the way a man smiles when there is very little left to prove. Claire turned. The expression on her face moved through several things in rapid succession: recognition, confusion, and then something that looked very much like the specific clarity that arrived 7 years too late. She looked at Marcus. She looked at Daniel. She looked at their joined hands. "You two know each other?" Her voice had gone careful in the way voices go careful when a person suddenly needs more information before they can say the next sentence. "Marcus is on my team," Daniel said, evenly. "He joined Novatech about 1.5 years ago. Good company to work for, I'd like to think. We're in a strong position right now." The silence that followed lasted no longer than 4 seconds. But in those 4 seconds, Claire Reynolds understood, with a precision that no one had planned and no one owed her, exactly what she had signed away in that downtown Providence conference room 7 years ago. Marcus excused himself to find the restroom. He was gone for 22 minutes. Claire looked at Daniel with an expression he had never once seen on her face across 8 years of marriage. "Daniel," she said. "I didn't know." "I know you didn't," he said. There was no anger in his voice. There was almost nothing at all. "The company," she started. "It's doing well," he said. "We're in a good place." She was gathering herself to say something more. He could see it in the way she straightened. He did not wait for it. He walked back to his table, said his goodbyes to Theo and 2 others he was genuinely glad he had seen, and left the building at 9:47 in the evening. He did not look back across the room. In the parking lot, he sat in his car for a few minutes without starting the engine. He was not angry. He was not triumphant. He was simply on the other side of something that had taken 7 years to cross, and the other side turned out to feel remarkably quiet. He had not fired Marcus. He would not fire Marcus over something personal. A performance improvement process was already scheduled through normal HR channels, and it would proceed exactly as it would for any other employee in the same situation. That was not revenge. That was simply how organizations function. What Claire had taken from him, the house, the settlement, the years of being quietly described as a man with potential and nothing yet to show for it, none of it had broken the thing that had actually made him. He had simply kept working. And the work had answered. Some people spend years designing the moment they will make someone feel exactly what they once made you feel. Daniel had spent those same years building something worth $280 million. He had not been waiting for a reunion. He had simply been living his life. And showing up, it turned out, was the only answer that ever mattered. There is a particular kind of justice that does not require a speech. It simply walks into a room, orders sparkling water, and extends a hand to the man who took its place. You cannot argue with it. You cannot negotiate with it. It was already decided, quietly, across thousands of days of work while someone else was busy making very different choices. What would you have done in Daniel's place? Would you have walked away without a word, or said something she needed to hear? Drop your answer in the comments.